Clear, man.
Okay. All right, everyone. We are back for another episode, and I got Will Presti back with me. Will, it's been a little bit, about a week. Let's catch up a little.
I missed you, Marco. You know, it hasn't been the same. I've actually been enjoying my life until once a week when you remind me that we're Giants fans.
Well, I'm not going to lie. Today, I was a little teary-eyed.
Oh man, Eli, I'm assuming.
I stubbed my toe.
Yeah, you stubbed your toe.
No, yeah, Eli. Oh, it killed me at the end when he said, like, Wilson Mara said, once a Giant, always a Giant. Then he said, for me, it's only a Giant. And I was like, oh.
Only a Giant, man.
I was like, mic drop right there, and boom, gone.
There's that loyalty factor that you don't, it's kind of rare these days, and most guys are, willing to really look. If Eli wanted to be really frugal about it, really selfish about it, I'm not saying selfish in a bad way, but if he really wanted to, make it about him and everything, he could go, play somewhere else, I'm sure, or at least join it and make a little more money, whatever. I mean, he's not 42, he's never been injured, but that's kind of cool. It almost reminded me, not to switch sports gears here, but lately we've been having some good New York loyalty. When Garrett there with the sign for the Yankees, once again, Yankee fan today, tomorrow, forever, something like that. And he was like, I'm home. Little consolation prizes for us New Yorkers. But now, Eli, what can you say, man? Probably the most hotly debated legacy of a quarterback ever. I mean, you want to get into that stuff. I mean, I've never seen a guy whose career was harder to figure out than Eli. I mean, you could argue the guy shouldn't even have been a starter, and you could argue the guy should be in the Hall of Fame. It's the weirdest thing. You could, but I think the one thing, well, I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit, but I think above all else, Giants fans appreciate. A lot of them love him. A lot of them are neutral on him. A lot of them were happy to, all right, some people want him to stick around, get another shot, but I think the one word I'm hearing more than any is appreciation. Everybody appreciates what Eli Manning did. 16 seasons on the team, never missed a game because of injury, all that stuff.
No,
obviously the Super Bowl, but I figured we would get into that in a little bit. So
I'm going to personally thank him because he's going to give this channel so much content. Is he a Hall of Famer?
Right.
Does he get snubbed? Is he a first ballot?
Well, let's do it. What
is he elite?
Hit me with it, Marco. What's your, now that it's all said and done, what is your final analysis of Eli Manning's career? Where does he fall on the scale?
I think he falls in the scale of Hall of Famer.
Okay.
When you think about what is the Hall of Fame, it's not like having the best player in there, because then you would only have one player at every position. It's a collective group who've achieved in the game. And if the ultimate goal is Super Bowls or being amazing or anything like that, he's done it. It's hard to take the two-time Super Bowl. People are going to say it all the time to put him in the Hall of Fame, but you can't take him away. And at the end of the day, the goal was to win a Super Bowl. He did it twice.
Right.
And in today's game, it's super rare. Now, was he ever the best quarterback in his generation? No. Was he top 5? Probably. Are those other 4 going to go into the Hall of Fame? Most likely as well.
Right. I mean, here's how I look at it. I think it's such an anomaly. It's very simple. When you watched him play, he was not a Hall of Famer. When you look at the numbers, he is a Hall of Famer. So what the hell do you do with that, right? I mean, if you said to somebody, if years from now, if no one even knew who he was and didn't watch him play, you just said to somebody, okay, the guy's top 8 in every major category: passing, completions, touchdowns, touchdown passes, complete yards, and he wins 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, plays 15/16 years for the same team, never misses a game due to injury. You're like, that's first ballot, unanimous Hall of Fame type stuff. You know what I mean? That's like, who else has ever – I don't know if any other quarterback has done what I just said. 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, top 8 in every passing category, never missed a game due to injury over a 15-year career. I'd have to think on it, but he might be the only one ever to do that. But in my opinion, he was only a top 5 quarterback in the league 1 year of his entire career. I forget what year it was, 2011, 2012, something like that. So
yeah, and I think that year he didn't win a Super Bowl either.
Well, I mean, the best Giants team I ever saw was
the Plaxico year.
Was the Plaxico year where they were 11-1. The only Brady was out with it was 2008. Brady was out with the injury all year. The only other team that was anything were the Steelers. The Giants beat them during the season in Pittsburgh, and then Plaxico shoots himself, literally shoots the Giants in the foot, and the Steelers go on to win the championship. The Giants get bounced in the playoffs. But anyway, I think so. It's tough. I mean, I get into this battle all the time, like Jets fans who try to rip on Eli, and right away I throw Namath in their face. I go, look, because Joe Namath had a 50% completion percentage, a losing record for his career, and threw way more interceptions than touchdowns. If he's in the Hall of Fame, Eli deserves a VIP room in Canton. Now, of course, in fairness, the completion percentages were much lower back then. The rules are a lot different. But still, the other two things hold true. So, you know what? He didn't piss anybody off. I know a lot of people don't like, they just kind of could never get on the Eli train. The one thing I don't like is when people say, he was 2 lucky passes, and that's why he has 2 Super Bowls. What about the games leading up to it? What about beating 13 and 14 win teams on the road, the Rodgers Packers, the Favre Packers, going into San Francisco, getting the crap kicked out of them and emerging victorious, going into, Tampa, going to Dallas, who beat him twice, get your popcorn ready, all that. And then 3 hours later, T.O. is going, that's my quarterback. Blah, blah, blah. So, it wasn't just, he did tend to play his best at the end of the half and the end of the game and when the stakes were the highest. But I do understand all aspects of it. If somebody wants to say, I watched him play his whole career, he was never a great quarterback, so he doesn't deserve to be in the Hall, I get that. And I don't like guys that were just kind of good for a while and racked up numbers. But I think Eli's somewhere in between. And ultimately, when you look at those numbers and you look at his contribution to the game, he's not a unanimous type guy, but he is a Hall of Famer. And I'm just, I'm not some kind of rah-rah Eli guy. My friends rip on me because they don't think I give Eli enough credit. I've always kind of been neutral and just kind of fair with Eli. But I think ultimately, when it's all said and done, if you look back 50 years from now and he's not in the Hall and you look at his accomplishments, you're going to go, what's wrong with this picture,
It's more than just like the stats or the gameplay, or just like we said, Namath is more of, the aura of Namath, the personality of Namath.
Right.
Same is going to be said for Eli. I'm sure we could probably pull it up. We could look at like some of the Hall of Famers that are in there now and be like, how the hell are they in there?
Right.
But at that time, maybe, it was the same thing going on.
Right.
I think because he's a quarterback, it's looked at more closely because people, tie them to wins and losses.
Sure.
More than like, what offensive linemen are like really putting up stats. Do we know like what blocks are going on? No.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you know what else? Like, with Eli, it's the postseason stuff, and the way, I mean, he came out of nowhere to he kind of took everybody by surprise, and I think all of a sudden people started looking and going like, can we take Eli Manning seriously? Remember, like after the first Super Bowl, and then he does it a second time. I mean, I think Jim Plunkett won 2 Super Bowls, I think, and is not in the Hall. I think he's the only guy to do that.
Yeah, I think he's the only one. He won 2 Super Bowls, but no one's ever been the 2-time Super Bowl MVP and not been in the
right.
Hall of Fame.
I mean, let's call it what it is. Eli's MVPs were kind of just like average. Like he played well. They could have gone to like defensive guys. It wasn't like he did like a Montana, or a Steve Young in the Super Bowl and like blew it out of the water. But he did enough to win. So ultimately, I'd say put him in the Hall. But either way you look at it, just a monster figure, a good guy, came out of the Big Apple, microscope pressure cooker without any major blemishes. And, it's interesting because I work at a place now called Collectible Exchange. If you guys are into that, cxstuff.com. We have all sorts of memorabilia, Eli and Jeter. And this week we have everybody, of course, but we're pushing Eli and Jeter. And, Jeter was a better player comparatively to Eli, but both guys put in a couple decades worth of work in New York and emerged without any major blemishes. And that's pretty unique, There's something to be said for that.
Yeah, no. I don't even know where to go with what he's going to do outside of football now. They floated like, maybe we'll have him back in here in some capacity when he's ready to come back. But
they're inviting everybody else to the party, the Giants coaching staff.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the one thing I have to say is, it is kind of a weird feeling when you bring guys. I'd rather you bring guys in who weren't fired from other places. You can either bring somebody in who's like, he's really good, let's poach him from this team, or you're bringing someone in who's only available because they got canned. So when you're bringing in Jason Garrett, and I don't know, you'll have to educate me. I heard Freddie Kitchens was going to be a coach, then I think you said he wasn't, but bringing in guys that were just fired is always kind of a weird thing. It's like your buddy breaks up with a girl and you're like, I'll take her,
Yeah. It was I saw it from Cleveland Browns beat reporter, and he's like, Freddie Kitchens his role is to be determined, but he's going to be on the Giants staff, and it picked up some steam.
Yeah, he's got a few roles. He's got a few roles to be determined, if you know what I mean. But anyway, that's beyond the point.
Yeah, football coach is one of them. And then it just died out. It's like, oh no, and everyone else around, all those positions were starting to fill up. I think
right.
The only thing left is maybe tight ends coach. But is he a tight ends coach?
He's selling his stuff on eBay. I know that much.
Is he?
Did you hear about that? All of his game-worn Cleveland Brown stuff, his shirts, his pants, the towels, the hats. He's putting it all on eBay. It's there right now on eBay. You
want to bid? What do you want? How much is the towel go for?
Well, it's the one. It's the towel that Odell threw at him.
Let me ask my wife if we need kitchen towel. Hold on.
Oh, wait, you come out with that. Look at that. That's
Look
pretty
at that
good.
One.
You caught me off guard there, man. I'm walking through the streets of Manhattan. I'm trying not to get run over, and you're coming up with these puns. I can't believe I left that one on the table, on the kitchen table.
Oh, see, you got one. Oh, my
anyway,
God.
I was going to make another Eli point, and listeners could probably tell that when I was like, one more thing about Eli, and then I kind of faded off. I forgot what the hell I was going to say about the legacy of Eli. But, it's certainly strange. I guess he's not going to be around. Although, did you find halfway through the season this year, though, that, what is that music in the background, by the way? What is that?
I knocked my daughter's toy across the room, and I think it's going bananas.
Oh, yeah. This is a professional podcast. You're hanging out at a playpen. I'm walking through Manhattan getting cursed at by Dustin Hoffman. It's just crazy over here.
Did Dustin Hoffman just flip you the bird?
No, it was just a reference to
Lookback?
Midnight Cowboy, maybe. I think.
I'm
walking here.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
So anyway,
I missed that one.
Halfway through the season, though, didn't you kind of forget Eli was even on the team? Honestly.
Yeah, it was an afterthought, definitely.
It was kind of weird.
Yeah.
But
he was, I think the moment that it realized, I was like, oh my God, is when they had the first, I think, Daniel Jones not presser, but
post game interview or what?
Yeah, where there was 500 people by
Daniel
Jones
yeah.
and 3 Eli. I was like, oh, and he was
there
putting on his sneakers. I was like, oh, that got to sting.
It's always strange, man. Always strange when those things happen. Certain things you can't, but then you get used to it, right? It's like anything else. It's like moving or it's like, Daniel Jones, the first time I saw him, like the first quarter of the Tampa Bay game was like, oh my God, what is this? Like it's someone different than number 10. And then by like midway through the second quarter, you're like, yeah, it's Jones. It's just like you adjust to it really quickly. So I don't know, man. I mean, we'll see. I think it's funny that Jones is. Oh, you know what I wanted to say about Eli? Here's what I was going to say about Eli, is that it's so interesting. If you look at that 2004 draft class, quarterback draft class, right?
Mm-hmm.
Probably going to go down as the second greatest QB draft class in history, next to 1983, where you had Elway and
Marino, yeah.
And someone else. Was it Ken O'Brien? I forget who else was in that class. But if you look at those three guys in 04, Eli, Roethlisberger, and Rivers, all three of them, it's unbelievable. They are 6, 7, and 8, I believe, in all-time passing yards, all-time completions, and all-time touchdown passes. And it's unreal that they're back to back to back. And so you could debate those guys all day. I mean, I think, Roethlisberger's got the 2 Super Bowls. So does Eli. I might have to go Ben slightly ahead of Eli just based on the eye test. And then, Rivers probably the best passer of all of them, but he never really won it. You could say how much, he didn't ever win it. You could say how much of that is his fault versus, other factors. But it's really interesting when you look at I would encourage everybody to go look at all their numbers and look. You'd be like, wow, in some cases they're like a yard or a completion away from each other. It's crazy how consistently they were always in the same level,
Yeah. So do you think Big Ben is a Hall of Famer?
I do. I think I do. I think yes. My answer to that would be yes, he is. You?
I don't know.
Well, he's got slightly better numbers than Eli. He's got the 2 Super Bowls, and with his mobility and things, he probably had more plays that he made things happen than Eli individually made things happen. Now, he probably always had a better defense and some better weapons around him. But, yeah, I think Roethlisberger is – I might have to put him just slightly ahead of Eli. But, yeah, I'd say those two guys are. And then Rivers, I mean, he probably has the best stats of everything. Who knows if, what the future holds for him. If he plays another year or two and he's productive, he could even get further ahead. But, no rings out in San Diego. I don't know. What do you think about Rivers?
I don't think he is either.
No? Oh, you don't think Ben is either?
I don't think so.
So just Eli?
I think it's just Eli.
Well, look at that. Now, what's your case against Ben? How do you put Eli ahead of Ben?
I think Ben's an asshole.
Well, I mean, listen. O.J. Simpson's in the Hall of Fame, too. I mean, where are you going with this one here?
O.J. is... Oh, my God. Can you even take O.J.'s Twitter?
Well, let me tell you this. I don't know if you know Ahmad Rashad. Rashad's wedding, I forget who was who, but the best man and the ring bearer, one was O.J. Simpson, one was Bill Cosby. So that's a true story. So that must have been some night. That must have been some bachelor party, let me tell you. Oh, my God. I can't even joke about that.
What? I don't even know what happened. I was thinking about that.
Crazy. What are we talking about now? But no, so not Ben just because he's a jackass, in your opinion?
I don't know. I think he's gonna wind up getting in.
Right.
But the first Super Bowl was his rookie year, and he just kind of walked into that one.
Well, that was one of the worst Super Bowls. I mean, that Seattle team that they played was at 06. I mean, that was a weak team. Wasn't it the Sean Alexander team, if I'm getting it correct?
Yeah.
But you know what? Look, a Super Bowl is a Super Bowl. I mean, half the teams that make it, you look back historically and are like, that was a dud team. People just get hot. But I got to tell you, getting off the Giants topic here, I'm looking forward to this Super Bowl quite a bit more than anyone lately because, not only just exciting teams, but they're two young teams coming into their own. The Patriots was boring whenever they're in it, not just because they're always in it, but because their style of play, it's just kind of, they just do it just enough on defense. They do the dink and dunk on offense. It's Brady throwing to a bunch of no-name receivers. It's just kind of like a dull thing. There's not a ton of star power usually. Even like last year's Super Bowl, it was just, dragged my girlfriend to a Super Bowl party, and like midway through the second quarter, I was like embarrassed. I was like, "This is a Super Bowl." I was like, "Yeah, it's usually better than this." So, but this time around,
Can we talk about the commercials?
Yeah, and it was like, yeah, but this time it should be interesting. San Francisco is a little tougher. Kansas City is a little more talented. You got Mahomes, you got Bosa. There's just a lot of electricity. I think it should be very, 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 very exciting. And usually my theory is that you don't just win the Super Bowl first year out of nowhere. It's like Jerry Seinfeld says about like breaking up. It doesn't happen in one fell swoop. It's like knocking over a vending machine. You got to rock it back and forth a little bit before you tip it over, right? So usually my theory is like, last year the Bears came out of nowhere. They were bad, and all of a sudden they were great. People are like, oh, Super Bowl. I'm like, it's not going to happen. And sure enough, it didn't. This year the Ravens, everyone's like, oh, who's gonna beat them? I'm like, they're not going to win at all. They're just not. It just, you can't just get hot one year. Last year's Rams, same thing. So given that theory, last year I was like, well, next year is the Chiefs' year. And then this year I'm like, next year is either the Ravens or the 49ers, because the Niners kind of came out of nowhere this year. So based on that theory, I would pick the Chiefs, but I'm not sure, man. San Francisco is so damn physical.
I don't know. Based on your theory, the Giants wouldn't have won the Super Bowl too.
Based on my theory. But you know why it's different? Because in those seasons, the Giants, their 2 Super Bowl years, they were 10-6 and 9-7. They weren't prolific. They weren't like, I don't trust the teams that go from like a 5 win to like an 11, 12, 13 win, and it's like everything's just going perfect for them, and then they hit adversity and it just doesn't work. The Giants kind of were always 9-7 and 10-6. You know what I'm saying? It's almost a little different.
Yeah.
So, like
maybe.
for the Niners last year, they win 4 games, and this year, they win 12 or 13? That's just
Hanson was injured was the reason.
Oh, God. Yeah, and there's also the reason that the Giants and the Niners picked what last year? Giants picked what?
Second.
Giants took 6th last year.
Six
and the Niners, right, they both sucked as the bottom line, and they both needed pass rush. So what does San Francisco do? They bring in Ford, they bring in Bosa, and all of a sudden, of course they get the quarterback back, but Garoppolo and Daniel Jones' ratings are basically the same, so it's not like they have some phenom at quarterback that we don't have. And look at the difference in the teams, because they addressed their pass rush. The Giants could have 0 sacks, and they'll draft a pass rusher in the 7th round. They're like, well, we addressed it. So, I don't know, man.
It's probably going to change this year. You have me thinking back and forth if Big Ben is a Hall of Famer.
He is.
Yeah,
he is. The Steeler thing will help him too. The Steeler thing will help him get votes. There's a lot of support there.
Well, let me tell you something. If he's not if Eli isn't, and then I think they both have to go in. They're probably going to go in at the same time is the thing.
If Eli isn't a Hall of Famer?
Like, if Eli's in, then Big Ben has to go in. If Big Ben is in, then Eli has to go in.
I just think there are more voters out there. I don't think there's a lot of voters out there who question Ben Roethlisberger's play as there are voters out there who question Eli Manning. I think there are some people out there, like your Skip Baylesses and other people, who literally think Eli, he's just Peyton Manning's little brother. He got lucky with the Manning hand throw. He got lucky with the Tyree, this, and that. And that's just there. You can't shake him from that. He's a 500 quarterback. How is that Hall of Fame? And, what do I think is actually going to happen?
They both get in?
Yeah, but I don't know about first ballot for Eli. I don't think he'll be first. I think Roethlisberger will probably get in before. I think Ben might be a first, and Eli might be a second or third year guy. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, maybe. So difficult, man.
But
after
one guy didn't vote for Derek Jeter, I mean, you never know what the hell's going to happen. So,
right.
And I think there's so much politics, and that's what that teaches you. The guy who didn't vote for Jeter doesn't think Jeter doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. He just thinks he doesn't deserve to be, unanimous. So there's going to be people who are like, yeah, I guess Eli is, but there's no way that I'm letting him get in first ballot, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, who really gives a crap? I think he'll probably get in, and that's that. And when he looks back at it and tells his grandkids, it's, hey, I'm a Hall of Fame quarterback. So,
When we went to a Phil Simms event, and he was talking about, oh, Phil, do you think you should be in the Hall of Fame? What do you think about the whole thing?
Right.
And he was like, no, I shouldn't. I didn't. The injuries really held me back. Stuff along that line. It's like, let me tell you a story about the Pro Bowl voters.
Pro Bowl or Hall of Fame?
Sorry, Hall of Fame voters.
Okay.
He was like, I asked one of them, like, oh, why did you vote for Chris Carter? I thought he was a Hall of Famer, but I was like, just asking him, like, just to justify it. And he's like, Chris Carter, year in, year out, put his work in and did amazing things out in the cold in Minnesota, all that cold weather and the snow and all that. And he's like, they play in the Dome, right? So it's like, he's like, they don't know. They don't know. They really don't know the game. So he doesn't have that much confidence in the Hall of Fame voting.
That's pretty funny. That is pretty funny. As you're saying it, I'm saying, wait a minute, they're in a Dome. What are you talking about? That was some receiving core, though, back in the day, man. That was Minnesota with Cunningham. They had Randy Moss. They had Chris Carter. So Moss at that time was the top 2 or 3 receiver in football right from his rookie year. You had Chris Carter, who was probably a top 5. And then their third guy wasn't it Jake Reed? Right?
Yeah, he was in there.
And he was a really good receiver. That Minnesota team, Minnesota in '98, was the best team I've ever seen that did not make the Super Bowl. And that would have been the best Super Bowl. That the '98 Broncos are one of the top 5 teams that I've seen in my lifetime, and so were the '98 Vikings. And they were the Broncos got in, and then you had the Anderson Bowl, right, where Minnesota was about to win, and one of them had Morton Anderson, and one of them had, what was the other guy's name? Was it Gary Anderson?
Mm-hmm.
The kickers, and one of them, I forget who was on which team, but one of them missed for the Vikings. He missed like an average length field goal. The first field goal he missed in like 87 years. And the Vikings lost, and the Falcons went to the Super Bowl. And it was kind of a nothing Super Bowl, but that team, that '98 Vikings team was unbelievable, man.
I think the Morton Anderson was the Falcons dude.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that was disappointing. I remember just as a football fan, I don't care about those 2 teams, but as a football fan, when that field goal missed, I was like, oh man, we just missed out, because I have never in my life seen an offense like that. Randall Cunningham with a resurgence. Literally, if you kids are too young to have seen it, see, back in the day, see.
When did they bring in Culpepper?
That was like 2 years later.
2 years, right? But they still had a good team at that point.
And it was still really, really good, yeah. But Randall Cunningham would literally just take the snap. He would take a 7-step drop. He would wind that long arm of his up, and he would just whip it. He would just whip it 70 yards downfield to Randy Moss, who was just taller and faster and could jump higher than anybody. And it was literally like you were playing back in the day NFL 2K. It was like Madden. It was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're getting far afield. This is a Giants podcast.
No,
Joe Judge.
It's Joe Judge, lighting the nation on fire.
Yeah, well, I think he needs a little bit of a personality, though. All right, they're like, hey, how's your family? He's like, family's good. All right, okay. I got a daughter. Okay, she has a lot of dolls. All right, so I play with them. Okay, we take our playtime very seriously. Okay, and that's it. She goes to school. All right, and she gets good grades. Okay.
Sounds very Larry David like.
Larry David. Right? That's not Larry David at all.
That wasn't Larry David?
No, Larry David. Larry David would be more like this. Or am I doing Bernie Sanders? I don't know. You know what's funny about Larry David, dude? I'm standing on my block right now, and you know who lives right around the corner from me is Kenny Kramer, the literal guy who was Larry David's neighbor, who Kramer was based on. And I've talked to him before. Kenny Kramer, yeah, he could be on the block right now in his car. Who knows? And his license plate says Kramer's on it, so. No, but Judge is good, but like I just feel like I could have used a little more personality. Like, hey Joe, do you ever laugh? Look, I laugh a lot. Okay, I take laughing very seriously. All right, we're gonna have a lot of fun here. All right, I'm a really fun guy. Okay, I want to go Obama a little bit there too.
We schedule laughter at what time?
Exactly. Look, at 4:32 every single day we're gonna have 1 minute of last time. Okay, it's very important to our team. Okay.
Get the guys loose.
I know I'm nitpicking, but all right, hit me with this. Go ahead. What do you think?
I was a little. He kind of sounded like Ben McAdoo did.
Yep.
That's what I got, that sort of vibe, but like Ben McAdoo wasn't as endearing, I would say.
Just the aesthetics. I can't look at Ben McAdoo with a name like McAdoo and looking like something out of Alice in Wonderland, or like a Whoville, like some kind of Dr. Seuss character with that hair and that stash. I just could never take him seriously.
When he came back with the hair, that second.
Right. At least Joe Judge has a really bad buzz cut. All right. At least he shows like, no, he's obviously not into aesthetics. He's like,
right.
He goes to his barber. Hey, give me the Chia Pet. He doesn't. So what do you think about the dynamic with Garrett and Judge? You think it's going to be awkward having a celebrity coach working under you? You think Garrett's going to kind of capitulate and just be quiet and do his own thing on the offense?
If it was me, would you want Jason Garrett above your shoulder at all times? No.
Yeah, but I feel like Judge would just smack Garrett around a little bit. So I think Garrett's going to be physically intimidated by Judge. By the way, how about this, right? You got a Princeton offensive coordinator. You got a Yale defensive coordinator. You got a Duke quarterback. I mean, it's... Hey,
listen, I don't knock the education.
I don't know anything about this D coordinator except that, did we talk about him at all on the air?
No, not really.
They hired the guy from Miami, and people are like, I'm really excited about him, man. He went to Yale. He must be smart. And I'm just like, dude, I don't know enough about him to condemn him. What I do know is that he was the defensive coordinator for the team that gave up the most points in the NFL this year. Now, people could say, well, Miami had this and they had that, and it's a bad team. But there's no way of knowing if that's him or the team. But the bottom line is that's the result that they got from him. There can't, I don't know what makes you think.
I don't know. I just
and then people go like this. They point to the Patriots game. I have a dozen people come to me and go, what about the Patriots game at the end of the season? And it's been so far away that I forget the stats now, but I looked into it. The Patriots averaged 25.5 points a game this year. The Dolphins gave up 24 points to the Patriots. So that's not, they did what they do. They gave up, basically, they did the exact same thing to the Patriots that every other team in the league did. And the 2 weeks before that, the Dolphins played the Giants and the Bengals and gave up 35 and 36 points. So where are we getting our confidence in a guy whose defense gives up 35-plus points to two of the worst teams in the NFL?
Look, this is how I look at it. They gave away all their players, right? So players that shouldn't have been playing were getting a lot of experience, and he was bringing them up to code. They were still playing hard. The results weren't there, but they were coming at it. They were trying to win jobs and stuff like that. And I'll give them that. Maybe with more talent, and they would try to be flexible with schemes. So,
but here's the thing, dude. You have to go out of your way, like you just did, to come up with a reason why we should trust this guy, when all the evidence says that there's no reason to. Again, we don't know, but there's no – the players played hard. Like, should we really be happy about that? It's like with Doritos on the bag. It says, now made with real cheese. Like, it should be made with real cheese. Like, it's a cheese Dorito. Like, why should I have to beg for the players to play hard? You can tell I'm hungry, by the way. And I might have meant cheese. I might have meant cheese doodles, but don't interrupt me. I'm on a roll. No, but I just don't know, man. It's just rough. Like, I'm not sure about that. I'm sick of these guys that, like, you have to look for a reason to try to find a way to be excited about them. I just want to be friggin' excited about something, but
I know, but
we'll see.
Were you going to jump to joy if it was Wade Phillips?
No.
He's a great coach, but
No, but I think, look, the best thing the Giants have going for them, honestly, is they're high draft pick in the first 2 rounds. They don't have a third because we wanted to take a closer look at Leonard Williams in person instead of on tape. We started on that. But the best thing I have going for them is the money. It's the money, and I am confident that the pass rush, that they will hopefully draft a pass rusher in the first, let's say, 4 rounds, hopefully 2, and that they will sign a 27-year-old or a younger pass rusher, and then all of a sudden we'll be able to get to the quarterback a little bit, which covers up a lot of mistakes in the secondary, and then, we'll see what happens with the rest of it. So, but I guess this is more of a reflective week on Eli. We appreciate Eli, and I think it's kind of interesting. I mean, talk about a cookie cut, talk about a cut, like a direct carbon copy of Eli. Like, Eli was probably the quarterback known for being like the most just quiet, normal looking, like whatever, kind of just like nothing flashy about his look or his personality. And he was like the one guy who did that. And now we've gotten 16 years later, the exact same thing all over again. It's like, it's funny. It's just Eli with legs, basically.
It is insane. And I saw a video, I think it was on Instagram or something, where they both touched their hair at the same time. It was
Although, you know what I'm liking about Jones, the one thing that always annoyed me about Eli more than anything, well, 2 things. One was the inaccuracy. That was always an issue for me, especially early on. I mean, if you look at Eli's first season, I looked at the stats from 2004 when he took over.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he literally had games. Like, I'm not even making this up. He went 4 for 25 with 3 picks and 61 yards. Like, I was looking at these numbers again. I know the game has changed, but he was so inaccurate and kind of remained inaccurate most of his career. I'm excited by Daniel Jones because I had heard he had accuracy issues, but he looks pretty accurate to me. He really does.
Yeah.
And the other thing that annoyed me with Eli's whole career, the Giants always got delay of game penalties. They were always 5 seconds, 4, 3. He's freaking out at the line. He's trying to call a time. Remember that one shot where he's trying to call a timeout and snap the ball at the same time? He looked like that. He looked like that video. Look it up, everybody, if you're listening, of Brendan Fraser clapping at the Golden Globes where, he didn't know what to do with his hands. So that always annoys me, and I always wondered, is it Eli? Is it the coaches? But you know what? No matter who the coach was with Eli, they always got delay games and always had issues with that. So I have to think it's Eli because now we've got Daniel Jones. I don't really remember it happening anymore this year.
No.
I don't think it really happens.
Some guy was trying to come at me because I don't know. I was defending Daniel Jones, and he's like, Eli had a much better rookie year than Daniel Jones. How can you say Daniel Jones had a better rookie year? I was like, honestly, just go rewatch it. Eli wasn't that hot in his rookie year. It was kind of brutal.
No, I think you're underestimating it. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I think Eli's rookie year was one of the all-time worst rookie years. I mean, there were a couple of games where he got pulled towards the end of the game, and they put Kurt Warner back in. I mean, Jones's rookie year was good to very good. Eli's rookie year was pretty atrocious. But anyway, here's the wrap up here, right? Is that I'm hoping and I'm hopeful that the Giants will be a couple of games better next year than they were this year. If you can even find maybe the coach if the coach can be the answer, or we can find out that Jones is the answer, or they get Saquon back on track, or the offensive line coach for Dallas can come in and do a good job with our offensive line, even though he had a lot of talent in Dallas. They always drafted those guys. I don't know how much of that is him, but if just next year we could have a couple of games better, maybe honestly win 7 games would be really great, and see some pieces of the puzzle that seem like maybe they're figured out for the future. I'd be cool with that, and let's just appreciate and respect Eli. I think overall I would say this. He was a solid football player for a very long time. That's kind of how I would put Eli. And you can never take those Super Bowls away. And that's that,
I'm 100% agreement with you. And 7 wins in the NFC East. You might be in the playoffs, my friend.
Oh my God, I know, it's so true, Marco.
All right, so let's wrap it up for today, and we'll get together next week.
Sounds good, man. Hopefully, we'll start getting into the draft. You think I ramble a lot now? Wait till we start talking about the draft, because there's some really, really interesting predictions by some top people about who the Giants are going to grab with their first round pick, and it's very controversial. But I'm just going to tease it for right now.
How deep do you go in with your draft knowledge? Are you like doing 7-round mock draft? Or
yeah, I know a good amount. You know, there's this long snapper from New Mexico State's JV squad I'm pretty excited about 2 years from now.
Okay. Some promise, right?
You got some promise.
Because I'm like the Snoop Dogg meme with who after the second round. I'm like, who?
No, I feel, the sad thing is I never gave two craps about the draft. I could never tell you anything about the draft. And then these last few years, unfortunately, I've had to become interested in the draft because for the first time in my life, the Giants were taking top 5 picks. It's sad. I guarantee you Patriots fans don't know who the hell is in the draft. They probably don't even know who the hell Tua is, right? Because they don't have to worry about it. So for me, unfortunately, I've had to get into the draft for the first time in my life in these past couple of years.
All right, there we go. That's how we'll end it. We're excited for the offseason. We're excited for the draft. We're excited for Joe Judge. Sad about Eli, but overall, we might be in a good spot.